you're gonna look great. But if you wanna stay in shape, well, you better. ymWits.
That's right, man. You tell 'em.
Welcome to the ymWits podcast. I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, aka Chef Sonic.
And I'm Tony Marinucci, aka Tips with Tony, a registered dietitian.
And we are the ymWits. So it's been a while since the three of us have all been in the same spot at the same time.
They'll have better audio this time.
Yeah.
The audio hasn't been great
I know, it's fine.
when we're not all together.
Yeah, we make do. But so how have you been, Tony?
I've been well. I've been really good. You know, chugging along, balancing full-time work and my own business. It's a lot, but it's all great.
How's it going with your business?
It's actually going really well. I'm picking up new clients, I would say like 1 to 2 per week, which is also now I'm trying to figure out, okay, now what do I do?
So does that mean you're going to leave us?
I would never leave you guys, ever.
Yes.
Never, ever.
I've been told that one before.
By who? Did you have a dietitian before me? I didn't know.
I never said anything about a dietitian.
No. Oh, really? A fitness person?
Nah.
Oh, okay. I'm learning more. No, but everything's been going good. I do want to just shout out if people are. I created something. Can I talk about it?
Of course.
Of course.
So it's a free quiz.
Anyhow, so on to more important matters, right?
It's a Are You a Healthy Eater quiz. So if you follow me on Instagram, just go to the link in my bio. That brings up all my other links, and it says, Are You a Healthy Eater quiz? You take that quiz, it gives you a score. It doesn't tell you how close you are to being a healthy eater. It literally just tells you if you're a healthy eater or not. But it gives you something to work with, and someone who just took it yesterday, they were like, you know what? I kind of knew I wasn't going to score well on this based off of the questions, but it reminded me of the things I need to pay attention to more. And it just kind of, it's going to give you something to kind of work at. So I want to encourage you guys to go to my Instagram, the link in my bio to take that quiz. I created it. It should take you less than 5 minutes. Or on my website, www.tipswithtony.com.
Awesome. So today we have an interview with Carla Biesinger. And Carla is really fantastic. She has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to online businesses, startups, social media, all that good stuff. And she's gonna talk about it, and she's gonna, she really gave us some good information, and hopefully for those out there that are interested in starting their own business, their own online business, this could be of some help. So without further ado, here is our interview with Carla. Hey everyone, we are here with Carla Biesinger. How's everything, Carla?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
Very well, very well. Fortunately, we are here with Ryan and Tony, so you get all of the ymWits.
Awesome, that's so exciting.
Nice. So Carla is a online marketing and online startup coach, which sounds like a very hot industry right now because, as we know, there's a lot of that going on. And now, one quick question. Since you're big into fitness, do a lot of the companies and the startup, the marketing for some sort of fitness or wellness companies or startups that you're working with?
Do I work with a lot of fitness startups, are you asking?
Yes.
So my niche is actually, I work with women specifically in the food, health, and fitness industry.
Good. Oh, wow. So yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very cool. All right, so as always, well, I guess that was the first question, but we always have a question that we ask, and it's about your fitness and health wellness background, how you got started with it, if you ever did, and what your current regimen is.
Mm-hmm. I was a little bit nervous about this question, I'm not going to lie. I feel like I'm maybe the least fit person that's ever been on your show, but I have, I used to, growing up, I used to play a lot of tennis. Like, my parents are really active. I grew up in the country, so hiking and all that stuff was kind of a daily thing. But I personally don't love to suffer. I've never really enjoyed going to the gym. And it probably wasn't until last year when I actually joined an online fitness group that I actually started to have a regular kind of fitness routine. And I now work out probably sometimes 5 times a week, but it's part of this online group, so I'm part of this community, which I love. It's all women as well, and it's super easy. I can work out from home. Like I travel all the time, so going to a gym and like having that kind of stable place that I go to is really difficult for me. So that's been working really well for me. And so I'm actually excited. I have an answer for you. That's not just like, oh, I go to the gym like once a year. So that's my fitness routine. I've always kind of been healthy in the like what I eat, and I've grown up. My mom is probably the healthiest person on the planet. So that's that. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, I'm like detecting like Australia or New Zealand in your accent, but I'm also hearing some Eastern European, I think. So where are you from? And where's the accent from? Because it's really unique. Like I'm hearing a lot of different things in there.
So I actually grew up in Germany, but I moved to Australia when I was 19. I went to school in Australia, so that's where that's coming from. I lived there for 6 years, and then now I'm kind of based between New York, Germany, and a little bit of other places for the winter.
Nice. Cool. All right, so I guess we're all wondering, how did you get into doing what you're doing? When did you get into it?
So I started my business almost 2 years ago. Before that, actually owned a restaurant in Buenos Aires in Argentina. Wow. For about 5 years. I did that with an ex-boyfriend actually and another friend. And that was kind of my first step as an entrepreneur. And when I left Argentina, you know, it was a big company. Like we had 30 staff. It was a huge project. It was big business, but it also meant like big problems. So when I left, I was so ready to do something completely different. I didn't want to have any employees. I really didn't want to be stuck in one place like I was with the restaurant. And so I kind of was like, I think the next thing I want to do is going to be online based. I wanted to just be me and my laptop. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to move around and go work from anywhere I want to. So that's really the reason why I started an online business. I'm a huge foodie, so I kind of always knew I wanted to do something related to food. I started out targeting food bloggers actually, and then it just kind of organically grew into working more with women who are also starting their own business, and not just running a food blog on the side. And obviously because I've started a couple of businesses, I love working with people who are in this like real startup phase and helping them kind of deal with the whole overwhelm and helping them.
And I would say Carla, so I've worked with Carla. That's how, I know her through, she's helped me start up. As you guys know from listening to the podcast, my business, I kind of always saw people on the side, but I made it an official business as of January of this year, 2018. And initially I did feel very overwhelmed and I didn't really know what to do. And I've always had my blog, my Instagram, but now it's like, okay, I can utilize my blog and my Instagram as a way to help gain potential clients and new followers. And, Carla, I have a question, but it's more, I kind of know the answer, but I think a lot of our listeners are into health and fitness, and they too, I think, are trying to figure out how to maybe start up their own kind of business or where to go from there. But it's a very competitive industry. Like health and fitness is pretty much everywhere. So what advice would you have for someone who really wants to stand out in this very competitive industry?
Yeah, I definitely think the first and most important step is to really create your own niche. So if you see like this whole online market and all these different segments and different niches as these different ponds, like you really want to be a big fish in a small pond. So if you're just targeting everyone who wants to be healthy or everyone who wants to be fit, you're just going to end up not speaking to anyone, and you're not going to stand out, and you're not going to differentiate yourself from all of the competitors that are doing the same thing and are speaking to the same people. So it's really about figuring out how can you differentiate yourself? Like, what is your story? How can you relate to a certain segment in the market? Like, instead of targeting everyone who wants to get back into shape, maybe you can specialize in working with new moms who want to get back in shape, or maybe you want to work with young professionals who don't have much time to exercise, or if you're in kind of the nutrition field, maybe you focus on working with singles who struggle with just cooking for themselves and being healthy in that way. So really finding a way, I think, first of all, looking at your own story and figuring out what makes you unique and how you can relate to a certain segment in the market, and then really trying to hone in on that segment.
Yeah, it reminds me of the quote, "Jack of all trades, master of none."
Right.
That's kind of, it sounds like that's what you're getting at. And I agree with you on that for sure.
So now, social media is so important for pretty much any business, any industry right now, unless maybe you're some local business that's been there for 30 years and just the community knows you. So one thing, I'll mention a story. I was speaking with someone who specializes in branding, and he works for some pretty big clients. So he was very interested in the ymWits because we had a good amount of listeners, but we really didn't have a huge social media following at the time. So he gave us this, when you have 40,000 followers, then we can talk. And so it got us thinking, how do you get more followers, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, and should you pay for it, right? Because I've also heard this statement, you want to have fanatics, not fans, right? Mm-hmm. So people that actually engage with you, people that really like you, and that the numbers, while they sort of look good, may not mean as much. So maybe you can enlighten us on this matter.
Totally. I love this question, actually, because I do think, that's kind of the issue that's happening on Instagram, where people just really care about this number of followers they have. And I do see why you would maybe think about buying fake followers, but that's exactly the thing. Like, these followers that you buy, they're not real people. They're fake accounts, and these fake followers, they're not going to listen to your podcast, right? They're not going to buy your services. They're not going to engage with your content. A lot of the people I work with, they want to work with brands, and there's this thing, obviously, with brands, they want to work with accounts that have a large following, but so much more important than the following is the engagement, like you mentioned. And actually, if you have a look at someone's account and they have 50,000 followers, but they only get 50 likes and like 3 comments, like something just doesn't add up. Mm-hmm. So I think people are starting to pay more attention to that. And I think it's the fastest way to lose respect and like trust when people realize that actually this following isn't even real. I definitely believe in quality over quantity. Yeah. Your question as to like how can you gain followers, I definitely think, first of all, knowing again who you're trying to reach, who your target audience is, like being really clear on that. When it comes to Instagram, it is a visual platform, so the content that you're putting out there, your posts, they have to be visually appealing. So you need some sort of a visual strategy. But then you also need a content strategy. So how are you creating value through your posts? Like, why should I follow you? What's in it for me, right? If I come to anyone's account, there has to be a reason why I want to follow along. So what's your kind of content strategy for how you can create value, whether that's through your captions, maybe you're sharing parts of your podcast and you're kind of driving traffic to your podcast in that way. And only once you kind of have these 3 things in place, like knowing who your target audience is, having a visual strategy, having a content strategy, then can you really go and like actively go and find these ideal followers, engage with them, and then hope that they're going to follow you back. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So now with the volume of different kind of social media platforms. Do you suggest, like I guess for me, as an example, I use it individually, but as a business, it's always been very difficult for me to use social media kind of from a business perspective. So do you recommend somebody kind of take an approach of, let's say, using all the major social media platforms, or maybe focusing on one that they're most comfortable with and really maximizing that? Like, which do you think is a smarter move for somebody who's trying to grow their business through social media?
Yeah, I think especially when you're starting out and it's just you and you can't outsource and you don't have the funds to outsource, I would suggest to just start with one, find out which platform your audience uses. All of the social media platforms, have different kind of end goals. Like Pinterest is really great for driving traffic. Instagram is really great for making connections and building these relationships with your ideal clients. Facebook is kind of dying, I feel like. So on Twitter, I don't even know who uses Twitter. So I would really be more specific in the platform that you're using, focus on one, and then kind of build your following and your audience there, and then kind of start with the next one.
So I think a big question that people who are looking to get into doing an online business, or that have a blog, podcast, something of that nature, they're wondering, how do I make money doing this? And then there's a part two of this. Since we're still talking about social media a little bit, how does having more social media lead to making money? Does it even, right? Does it, or is it very indirect? So I think that's the questions. The revenue streams for a blog, a podcast, or just any online business, and maybe besides one that's clearly selling a product. Maybe if you have a more based on the like a blog, podcast type deal. And how does having a bigger social media or a stronger social media following, how does that lead to making more revenue, if it does?
Well, I think apart from just selling a product, and a lot of bloggers just start out growing their blog, kind of talking about their life and things they want to share, and then later on figure out, okay, actually there's something I can create and monetize around that. Maybe it's an online course, maybe it's a group program, maybe they do one-on-one coaching. A lot of bloggers and obviously a lot of Instagram influencers work with brands and get these kind of sponsored campaigns. I have some of my clients who started out just on Instagram, got these speaking gigs and is starting to do workshops. So I feel like there's a lot of different avenues that you can, or like roads you can go down that you might not think of at first when you're starting a blog. But I think when it comes to why growing a social media audience or following is important, people buy from people they know, like, and trust, right? Basically, that's what it comes down to. So when you're just first starting out and you're maybe reaching out to your network to get your first clients, I think that's a great start and definitely a great way to get started. But once you want to reach a wider audience, that's where social media comes in. So through social media, for example, through Instagram, you can get in front of your ideal client. You can literally, once you've defined them, figure out who they follow, what hashtags they use. You can get right in front of them and start engaging with them and say hi. So that's how you start, or how they get to know you. And then by sharing who you are on social media, by being yourself, by building these authentic relationships, by sharing your message, that's how they get to like you. And then by showing up consistently, which is super important, especially on Instagram, that's kind of how you're building trust. So you're constantly delivering this value and you're bringing helpful information and you're just really building that expert status. I think that's how you can use social media to build that know, like, and trust factor, and how you can then turn those followers into paying clients.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. So first thing is figuring out who your target market is. And then you talked about it a little bit, like how consistency is valuable and important. But can you give us a little bit more specific ideas of, like, say someone wants to grow their Instagram following, like what are things they could be doing every single day, or whether it's their podcast or their blog, but like what are things people should be doing on a daily basis to really see that growth maybe happen a little bit faster?
On Instagram specifically?
I guess
or in general.
In general, I guess, because if it's a podcast, it's not necessarily going to be on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, I think first step is really getting to know your audience. So really finding out what problems they have, what things they struggle with, what they want and need, is the first step. And then second step is what can you do to grow that audience? So how can you show up on Instagram? How much time can you invest, for example, to connecting with new potential followers? If you're blogging, where can you write a guest blog post? Or can you pitch yourself to a podcast and get in front of your ideal audience? And then once you have them, your goal is to kind of nurture them, right? So how can you create value for them? What can you do to kind of build this relationship, have them stick around? And that's where you really want to be consistent. So, when I first started out, I kind of started my online business because I really thought I could just hide behind my computer and travel the world and sell stuff on autopilot. Like I wasn't going to have to sell myself or sell my products in like an active way. And then I realized, well, actually, that doesn't work like that. So it was really about going out there, putting myself out there, making connections, networking with other people in my industry, seeing who I could do some joint venture webinars with, for example. I think that's super important, always trying to find other people who you can connect with, other people who share your target audience. That's something I would do on a daily basis. Investing in yourself as well. I think starting out, you just have no idea what you should be doing. So whether that's taking online courses or working with someone one-on-one who's already been there and kind of knows the strategies and knows what you should be doing is so important, because otherwise you can just spend endless amount of time just working on these things, not really seeing any results because you don't know what you're doing. And there's so much amazing free information out there. There's so many great online courses. Like, you don't have to go to business school and get a business degree in order to start your own business.
It's a question. What are some courses that you like? Obviously, you have yours or what you're doing right now, but is there some other ones that people should look into?
It really depends what you're focusing on right now. When I first started out and I knew I wanted to create an online course, I actually took an online course about how to create an online course. Right now I'm looking into doing more media stuff. So there's a great course running right now that's about public relations and how to kind of build relationships with journalists and get in front of journalists. About social media, there's tons of courses out there. I'm myself in a group program for online coaches, where I also have this community of people who are going through the same thing. So I think running an online business can be pretty lonely, which is why I think joining these kind of online communities where you're connecting with other people who are going through the same things as you is a great idea. I found so many business opportunities and just business partners or collaboration partners in just being active in the online world, whether that's in Facebook groups or like online courses or online programs that have been like so helpful for my own business.
Cool. So now, speaking of your business, like, take us through what you would take a client through. Like, kind of what is an interaction between you and a client where you're trying to help them with their kind of social media presence? What's that process like?
With working with people one-on-one, you mean?
Yeah.
So it's obviously very much depends on what the exact needs are of the client. So I kind of feel like in order to start a successful online business, you need three things. So you need an irresistible offer, you need an audience, and then you need a strategy on how to bring that offer to your audience, right? So depending on what exactly that client needs, that's what we would focus on. But essentially, I focus on these three things. It's creating that offer that's something your audience really wants and needs, growing that audience, nurturing your audience, building that know, like, and trust factor, and then figuring out a way of how you can sell yourself or sell your offer without being like salesy or pushy. I think people, especially in food, health, and fitness, like, they feel so passionate about helping people and they really know they can make a difference. But when it comes to selling themselves, it's all like they feel like, oh my God, I don't want to be pushy. Selling is gross. But you have to feel good about selling your services, and you have to feel confident about that if you want to make money. So that's a big part as well.
Yeah, and I mean, so I mentioned, like, I've worked with Carla, and she helped me with what I needed, and when she literally listened to everything that I had to say and had the answers for everything, and she was honest if she didn't, and she got me the answers right away. So with me, she basically helped me with the things I'm not good at, which is technology. Like, I know I'm a great dietitian, same thing, like, I didn't even know how to make an email list. Like, she helped me with all these things. She helped me create a free quiz that is offered for my clients, and not for my clients, just for anyone in my following. But that now she helped me provide a free content that people can now go back to, retake a quiz, see how if their health is improved or whatever have you. And it's just the beginning to so many other things that I could be doing. And she really allowed me to, like, focus on one thing, because when we work by ourselves, we want to do so many things. Oh, yeah. Right. And we end up doing nothing. So she, like, really helped me with the things I needed help with. And I think, like, everyone is going to have some certain things that they're good at and certain things that they need improvement on, and working with someone can really help you kind of navigate through what matters most.
Yeah, some of it is also just having that accountability partner. Mm-hmm. I think when it comes to working one-on-one, and just someone who cares, I think, about someone who gets it and someone who really cares about what you're doing. Because I feel like when I know with, people around me who don't have their own business, who don't have these kind of same struggles, they just don't get it. So even just, talking to my coach, telling her about some of the things I'm dealing with, and just getting answers and knowing, like, okay, I'm not a complete idiot. Like, this is okay. Everyone is going through these same things. Everybody has these same fears and self-doubts. That's, I think, a huge part as well of working with someone one-on-one.
So since your focus is with startups and also dealing with social media, for each, what are some common errors that you see people, like, I guess, one, when they're trying to get their business off the ground, and then two, in how they deal with social media?
I think people with social media, especially, depending obviously on the platform, there's different errors people make on different platforms. Instagram, I think people don't have a strategy. It's just like, I'm like, my Instagram is very focused. If you look at my Instagram account, you would think that I'm a vegan who only eats, like, pink smoothie bowls, which is actually not true at all. But, I know that that's what my target audience wants to see. So I'm creating content for my target audience. I'm not creating content for me. And I think that's probably the biggest mistake people make. The content you're putting out there, it's not about, like, it is about you, but really you're curating it for your ideal follower or for your target market. So anything on Instagram, that's not related to food, that is not related to business or Instagram, or kind of what my focus is, doesn't go on my feed. That's kind of what Instagram stories are great for, because that's really where you can share those kind of day-to-day, like, daily snippets of your life, and where you can show your real life and your personality. But when it comes to your feed, you know, every post I post is curated for my audience. I spend a lot of time writing my captions because that's kind of the heart and soul of my post. That's where I connect with my audience. That's how I want to inspire them. So, you know, I don't just post something like Happy Monday. That's definitely what I used to do in the beginning. There was a lot of Happy Mondays and no real value. On Instagram as well, people don't really know how to use hashtags. That's another big error, I think.
Yeah, Carla, I will say, I took one of Carla's Instagram courses, which we'll let you talk about at the end because I think it's wonderful. And I thought that if you are probably giving away part of your course, and I apologize, but
that's okay.
But, like, I always thought use the hashtags with the most amount of following. Can you explain that, like, with the people that use it the most? Like, I always used the ones that had, like, over 1 million different uses, thinking it was a better hashtag. Can you explain that?
It's funny, because I thought that a hashtag initially was just a bunch of stoners running around, like, touching each other. But I guess you learn something new every day.
It's not an episode of the ymWits without a commentary like that from Justin.
Sure. So hashtags basically are time bound. So when I post a hashtag, for example, I post a post with the hashtag fitness. As other people are posting their posts with their hashtag fitness, so I post it and it will go like on top of their feed. As other people are posting their posts with their hashtag fitness, their post will go in front of mine, and so mine kind of moves down the feed until it eventually gets lost in a sea of posts. So if you're using really big hashtags, then, you know, fitness, I mean, probably has millions of hashtags associated with posts associated with it. So by the time you post your hashtag, by the time you refresh, it's already disappeared. So your ideal followers are using these hashtags. You know, that's how people will find you, as they're kind of checking out these hashtags and they're scrolling through, checking out different posts. So you really want to focus on hashtags that are, first of all, again, relevant to your audience. And then I generally say don't use hashtags that have more than 600,000 posts associated to them, just because if they're too big, it's kind of like you disappear after a few seconds, and it's a waste of hashtag. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
But then also don't use one that has like one user.
Right. So obviously, if you're posting with just hashtags that just have 100 posts associated to them, like not a lot of people are checking out that hashtag. So I would say use a range of hashtags that are between 5,000 and 600,000, roughly.
Interesting. So now, some people don't have a podcast or a blog, or that's a very small part of their business, but instead they are selling a specific service or a specific product. Mm-hmm. So we often have guests that are selling a product, or we're looking and researching products on our own. And I tend to see the same language all the time. If it's something for weight loss, lose 20 pounds and blah, 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 right? If it's a food thing, it tastes great, it's healthy, it's, you know, organic. Is it like the same language? If it's a workout program, you know, get this, you know, get more fit, gain muscle, lose weight, right? The same things. And then it's sort of filled with little buzzwords and pizzazz words. And it just looks like everything is the same. And I'm wondering, for a potential buyer of these products or services, when they're looking at this, they must be saying, this just sounds like everything else. It sounds like I'm being fed a sales pitch.
Right.
If people are trying to sell a product or service, how can they use the language, their marketing ploy, their copy, to help sell their product instead of just sounding like everything else?
So what are we talking about now? Is that how can they use their language on social media, or just specifically
either one, because they tend to say the very similar things, whether it's on social media. Yeah, maybe it's a little catered to a social media post, But it's the same thing. And then you see the same social media posts over and over for someone trying to sell a product or a service. Then you go to the website and it kind of looks like in they big letters, and they advertise certain buzzwords, and you just see the same things over and over. You read the same thing, whether it's on a website, whether it's on an advertisement, whether it's on a social media post. So how can you sort of stand out without just sounding like you're trying to sell something and using the same old words?
It's definitely, and that's definitely an issue, I think in all industries, because everything is just starting to sound the same. And there is obviously these buzzwords, and people are using them because they do kind of have that buzz, they do work. I think obviously what makes you different in the end is you and is your story. So if you can, and that again is where social media is so great, because you can spend so much time building these relationships and talking about things that aren't just buy my stuff, and by sharing, about who you are, what you stand for, just in a more authentic, I think social media in the end is social media because people go there to be social, and they go there to have conversations, and they don't go there to be sold at. I don't know if that's answering your question, but
I would say, Carla, what you've helped me with was just I talk more about how I feel and my journey, and even when creating my content about my online services, it's very feeling based, emotion based.
Yeah.
It's not so much lose weight and feel better. It's I'm going to help you gain the confidence so you know how to eat, when to eat, and feel good about yourself and feel good and comfortable in your skin. And when you word it like that, it's a lot different than saying hey, buy my counseling sessions.
Yeah. I mean, it's so much, people make that mistake. They just talk about the features of their products or their services, and it's okay, you can do one-on-one coaching with me and you get 6 60-minute sessions and XYZ, but they don't talk enough about the benefits. So that's exactly what Tony was saying. What we worked on actually together was what is the benefit of losing weight? Why do people actually care about getting healthy? And then trying to really focus on the benefits, and then the benefits of these benefits, in order to really appeal to people's emotions. Because in the end, people make buying decisions based on emotions, right? It's about how it makes them feel. So that's often where it's buy this and lose 20 pounds. Isn't as strong, I think, of a message, or it could be depending on the person, but as if they know, they're not inside my head is what I'm trying to say. You really want to get inside your ideal client's head and know their desires, their fears, their biggest pain points, and then talk specifically to those things and those emotions, then just, lose weight.
Mm-hmm. Now, Carla, I guess what people are probably wondering is, what's the expectation of how long, what's the general timeline people should expect for getting their business kind of off and running off the ground? Is it 6 months, a year, 2 months, 2 days? How much work or time and energy does someone have to put into this for it to really, take off?
Right. So I think 6 months is probably, for me, when I started out, I gave myself 6 months where I was okay, I might not be making any money in the next 6 months. And then up to a year, if you're really ready to go all in, I think it's important to have the expectations that, maybe you're not going to be making enough money to live on off that business for up to a year. I think that would be a safe bet, minimum 6 months, I think.
Okay.
When it comes to, so I've found myself the more I deal with doing work that does involve just working online, it's really easy to get complacent, to procrastinate, to, you start a project and then you start surfing and then all of a sudden you're down the Wikipedia rabbit hole, whatever it is. So I guess the question is, Are there, I guess, strategies that you put in place for yourself to keep yourself focused and accountable? And maybe are there like certain personality types or types of people that maybe just don't function well in that environment? Like, how do you make sure that because you're your own boss and you're running your own business, how do you make sure that you really stay focused and, if you're going to put in 6 hours, that you really put in 6 hours and that you don't put in, an hour and then the rest kind of surfing the internet?
Yeah, well, I am German, so I am like very efficient, and that's definitely one of my traits. So when I go on to Instagram, for example, I go on there with the focus of like, okay, I'm going to spend 15 minutes replying to comments on my posts. I'm going to spend 15 minutes finding new accounts to engage with new potential followers. Like I definitely go on to social media with a like mini mission or a focus. I generally don't, I feel like Facebook for me is the worst. Like I go onto Facebook and then like 2 hours later, I'm like, I don't even know why I came on here. So I generally try not to even look at Facebook unless I'm really going on there with a specific task. Like maybe I'm going to go into a Facebook group and I'm going to be social and connect with people in there for a specific amount of time. So I think setting yourself like a time limit, coming up with a task, and just try like really being strict with yourself. I like putting myself timers actually, and then I'm like, okay, I have 15 minutes, and by the time the timer goes off, I'm done. So I feel like, okay, I really have to do my work.
Idea, but that sounds pretty good idea.
It works.
I like it. I'm going to start doing that.
How it goes.
Timers for everything. It's a good idea. So I guess we have one last question here, and that these online businesses, especially for fitness, well, really for anything, but especially what we're referring to, fitness, diet, health, wellness, is so new, right? We just don't have the sample size to know if it is sustainable or if someone could sustain it over the years. Right now, like if someone could have a successful business for 20 years, right, you would say that's plenty sustainable and you could potentially retire off of that. But is this sustainable, especially where we don't know what the future holds? There's so many new fads and so many thises and that's coming out. Is having an online business of this nature, is it sustainable?
That's a great question. I think, and this is actually a really interesting question for me because I built my business on Instagram, and I personally don't think that having a business based on a social media platform that I don't own or that I don't have any control over is sustainable. So I think that's where having your own podcast, having your own blog, focusing on growing your email list, really these things that you have control over is super important, and something definitely to keep in mind as you're starting out. But I think generally, I mean, yeah, nobody knows how this is all gonna develop, but I think there's definitely the trend that more things are going online. People want more convenience always. Whole online course industry is just like grown so much, so there's definitely more competition as well, as it kind of grows, which is why I think it's a good idea to get started as soon as possible, to get that kind of time advantage before more and more people start. So yeah, I think generally the online world is growing. I don't think just building a business based on a social media platform that you don't control is sustainable. So yes and no.
Good point.
All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Uh-oh.
I'm working, Carla.
Oh, my connection is really bad right now.
So, what advice do you have right off the cusp for the ymWits, right? The ymWits
You just
are
want free advice.
Yeah.
right,
Shameless.
right. It's a shameless ploy, right? So, all right, I'll give you the basic. The ymWits are, we try to be truth tellers. We don't We don't like to buy into fads, and we like to tell things as they are and give people honest information. And we like to deliver our information in an entertaining way.
Yep.
So we're not going to sell people something that we don't believe in, right? And that's, we also believe in a strong philosophy that's how you're healthy, by sticking to a strong plan rather than buying into something quick.
Yep.
So right off the cusp, what are some things the ymWits could do to help themselves?
On Instagram?
On whatever, anything you can think of. We'll accept it.
Well, I'm looking at your Instagram account right now. I would definitely love to see more of you guys. I feel like it's all, like, you do have a theme going on, which I think is great. So you do have kind of the aesthetic, like, visual strategy. But apart from, like, I don't know, like, okay, I can look at your little, at your logo and obviously get an idea of what you look like, but I would love to see a lot more of you. You guys sound so fun. Maybe you could do more videos. I don't know if you do any Instagram stories at all of kind of like behind the scenes stuff. Is that something you do?
Well, no, it's hard because I manage their Instagram account just recently, though. Yeah. But, Brian, you still have access to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm challenging you. It's kind of weird because it's like, I don't want it to be a story of myself. So I would encourage you guys, like, especially Ryan trains people all day long. Like, you should be putting that, I feel like, on the story. And I'm giving you permission now. But we have spoken about doing our own, like, how-to videos. And we have spoken about that. I think we just really have to do it.
Yeah.
Also, like, looking at your bio, that, like, it just says the ymWits.
Yeah, there's nothing
really. I don't really know what, like, who you are. Yeah. So from a very first look, I feel like first homework for you can be to work on your bio, and I'm sure Tony can give you some good tips there too. But just so you know, for me, when I come to your account and like that bio is the first impression you give, so you want to make sure, like, what you were just saying, like, this is what we're about. You want to make sure that's written in your bio.
Yeah. Very good.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
Carla.
thank you.
Now, Carla, you had, I just wanted to...
We'll be expecting a bill from you.
Carla, you had a course, like, you're running a free course right now, right, for Instagram?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that? Because maybe I'll take it.
I should probably know the link. I don't. That's super embarrassing.
Well, what you could do is you can email it to us and then we'll put it in the show notes.
Put it in the show notes.
Okay. Well, it's a 5-day video training course that kind of teaches you the basics on how to get started. I also do, like, pretty much every week or every other week, I do live trainings on my own Instagram account, which is actually Stomach Half Empty, in case I didn't think I mentioned that earlier. So there, I'm always giving Instagram tips. I'm always happy to answer questions. If any of your listeners want to learn more about Instagram, I'd be happy to help out.
And where can people find you? Like, what? Where can people? And I guess also, what is your Instagram, email, or website, whatever? You know, how do you like people to get in touch with you?
So my website is just my name, which is carlabiesinger.com. I don't know if I should spell that or if it's easier for you to just put it in the notes.
Yeah, you could just email us all that.
Yeah, I'll email you all of that. My Instagram is Stomach Half Empty. And then my email, probably easiest.
Isn't that a little pessimistic?
I'm always hungry. I'm always thinking about food, like, literally. So it's just the truth.
Awesome. Well, Carla, thank you so much. You really have some great knowledge, and you've shared it. And I certainly learned a lot. It gave us some great ideas. And we wish you luck. We hope that people contact you and really use your service. You are very valuable. We can see how a lot of people will benefit from working with you.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. And you are welcome back anytime.
Oh, thank you. Well, I look forward to checking out your Instagram in the next few weeks to see what you're into. No pressure. And yeah,
Great.
thank you so much, guys.
Great, thank you.
Bye, Carla.
Bye.
So it's definitely true. Ryan has been slacking a lot when it comes to Instagram and all those types of things.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, absolutely. Never said I wasn't.
Right?
It's funny. My wife.
I think I have too.
So
like, I just don't know how to go about it. So.
Well, no, I mean Tony's done great with our Instagram compared to where it was. But there's been a project I've been trying. My wife keeps telling me she's a huge fan of this podcast. I forget which one it is, but like basically they grew in large part because they started a kind of private Facebook group, and every week she's like, you got to start a Facebook group, like a private and you got to do, but it's like I don't have the time to manage that because it's like doing anything social media wise that if you want productive, it really takes time to manage it. And then there are times like, well, like this talk makes me motivated. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. And then like next week things come up and I won't be able to, but I'm hoping, part of this whole deal is that you need to be, at a computer and you need time. And some things are changing in my own schedule and life, which will actually put me in a position to potentially build it into my schedule in a realistic way. So maybe we'll get a ymWits, real Facebook group with interaction and engagement at some point. I know Carla doesn't like Facebook, but I see it as like
well, she likes the groups. She thinks
that's the aspect. And I think that is I think there is something there, and I'm part of a few groups, and it's just a matter of moderating it properly and really engaging and fueling engagement. And I think that's where I don't like to start projects, especially something like that, without really putting the work. It's like why I don't know how to swim yet, because I can't swim, and every year I'm like, I'm going to learn to swim, but the reality is
that's a good video, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh my
learning
God.
to swim.
And by the way, there are videos coming out down.
Yeah, we've been saying that for 3 years. So so let's well anyway, like with swimming, I realized that for me to really learn, I need to be consistent and have a structured plan to do it. And if just getting in the pool a couple times isn't going to work. So same thing. It's absolutely. Like to get it, need the structure, need the plan. And yeah, hopefully we'll get this going soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, as usual, all of our stuff is at thegymwits.com. You can find our social media, fill out the survey on Libsyn, survey.libsyn.com. I always get Libsyn and Libsyn mixed up. Libsyn. You can find it in the show notes. Help us out. And that is it. I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, aka Chef Sonic, reminding you that truth does not sell.
And I'm Tony Mariniche, aka Tips with Tony, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.
And we are
the ymWits.